to go like, we're trying to make the first successful blockbuster DC movie because it's been trash for the last 15 years. Like, we haven't done a good one. So, of course, if we can get the top black actor or who's about to be next up, if we can get Margot Robbie pre-Wolf of Wall Street, that's what we're going to do. So I agree that people have the right to be like, well, it would be nice if. I think that that's fair to say it would be nice if. But to say this isn't a decision that makes any sense and is only motivated by colorism and they shouldn't, it's like that to me seems over the line into, okay, so we expecting them to just make a movie that don't make no fucking money. Like, you know what I mean? Bro, Spike had Denzel in a red wig playing Malcolm X. And because it was like, bro, it's Denzel. It's still the right choice. Motherfucker is 17 shades darker than the actual character. But it worked. Nobody said anything about that. So I feel like, fuck it. He don't even need the contacts. He's saving money. Like, come on.
This nigga said he don't even need the contacts.
This
nigga said he don't even need the contacts. His eyes are that fucking green. He does not need the fucking.
That shit's scary as hell, dog. He really has some terrifying green eyes.
That's what the fucking casting director. That's all the casting directors are. You're proving their point.
You're hired.
You're proving their point,
bro.
It's a red flag.
And I was kind of disappointed at this one. Everybody said that Tommy Lee Jones is like terrible in person. Like, he's like the worst person you ever met. You know what I'm talking about?
Why did that bother you?
I don't know. Like, for some reason, I think, why did because he seems like he would be a motherfucker who just minds his business type of guy. You know what I mean? I think there's something about those fair. Like, you know, straight lace, you know, stoic, like down home, salt of the earth. Like, he's a farmer type of dude. And so you kind of get this feeling of like,
he's also not that down.
But in what do you mean?
Because it like then Tommy Lee Jones like went to Harvard, like you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not.
Yeah, I don't know the nigga. So like, just meaning like who he is in.
He was like Al Gore's roommate in school or some shit, right?
This is making sense. But what he plays in movies is this earnest, down home, masculine. Like, I'll say it to you rough, but really I care for you deep down somewhere in my heart. And I think something about that makes me go like, oh, surely that must mean that he's like a nice guy inside. Because he guided Will Smith through all those difficult, like, you know, illegal alien situations or whatever. And then he helped fucking Josh Brolin when the dude with the bowl cut was trying to kill him and stuff. And like he's all of those kinds of.
Are we talking about movies still, or did he do this in real life?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He is.
These are movies. He's never having in real life.
Was Tommy Lee Jones in Independence Day?
Nah, he was in fucking Men in Black.
Men in Black, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot that Will Smith has like 3 or 4 different alien movies. You right?
I had to think about it. I was like, that's fucking Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
Because I was like, what? What?
He's been in a few now that I think about it. But yeah, apparently he's a fucking dickhead. Like, he's just mean as hell to wait staff. He's like, he wants you to. They were saying that he has this air of like he expects you to know who he is and treat him special, but not acknowledge that he's famous or that you'd recognize him, which is like a crazy fucking apparently he's just a fucking dickhead.
I mean, he looked like a dickhead. Is
that what you have said?
He looks like he wouldn't. He's not the most approachable person.
Yes,
like
he looks mean.
Now I understand why Alvin said. Why are you surprised by that? Why did that?
He seems like he's a fucking asshole. Does my explanation at least make sense that he seems like this, like gruff, but you know, salt of the earth, inside kind of a person, similar to like
I definitely.
But
he reminds me of like a Tom Hardy or like a Josh Brolin. Like, they're in the similar like kind of stoic masculinity types, but you sense that maybe they're kind of like a sweet guy. But I don't know. That's probably just nonsense.
I ain't gonna hold you. I mean, just based off of his demeanor and like, you know, stereotypes, old white guy, old mean looking white guy, I might assume he's racist. If I just saw him on the street looking like that, I probably won't want to fuck with him.
You're right.
Then I might be.
Yeah, I'm doing reverse mathematics because I'm like, oh, because he's so like I've got like abuse victim syndrome where I'm like, oh, because he's mean, he must be nice. Like, until I've seen him do some racist shit, I'm like, that's super dumb. Anyway, welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the number one asshole celebrity and dating podcast in the entire universe and the tri-state area and the dark side of the moon. It's your boys Eddie, it's Alvin, it's Josh. Welcome to the show. What are we trying to get into?
I'm trying to get into everything, man.
Okay. Pause. I feel you.
Exactly. No. Yeah. Pause.
Can't do it. Yeah. Motherfucker internally bleeped himself.
I know, right?
It's crazy. I saw it happen in real time.
And they have no follow up neither. It wasn't.
No, he had nothing.
It wasn't edited. It was censored, not edited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was literal.
No.
Nigga
went to commercial inside his own brain.
I was riffing to say, I'm not even, whatever. I'm not even going to say that.
Can't do that. What we want to talk about? Aaron Pierre? Green Lantern?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah. What y'all think? I think it's going to be great. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even aware of this shit until like maybe 2 days ago. And I think I randomly saw 5 minutes of an FD video that popped up on my feed when he was talking about it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
What niggas is mad about today?
What he said?
Not FD was basically saying that, at least in the first couple minutes I saw, he was basically saying it's not what y'all think it is. It's not the type of colorism that y'all think it is. This isn't.
Of course. I should. When you say FD, I should have realized it was going to be that. Yeah. Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
So
the colorism angle to me is like.
What was mad about today?
He said it's not the kind of colorism you think it is. It is definitively colorism.
It's the new colorism.
Yeah.
It's like new Coke.
Yeah.
The
new Coke is great.
Yeah. Got you. It's got aspartame in it. It's a sweeter kind of colorism. But no, look, colorism thing aside, I feel like Aaron is not to dick ride too much, but I'm a dick ride a little bit. I really feel like he's potentially next up. I'm assuming neither of y'all have seen Rebel Ridge yet. One, I would highly fucking recommend. I think it's a great goddamn movie. But two, I was watching that and I was like, oh, this if he plays his political cards right, this motherfucker's next up. Because the slot is open. We don't have anybody. We don't have an A-list black male lead right now. Jonathan Majors was going to be it. He's up out of here. Everybody else has kind of been middle.
Whoa. You just shitting on Michael B. Jordan like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, man.
Whoa. You shitting on Bow Wow like that?
Man. Yeah. You know what? That's, you know what I'm saying? Cat Williams was going to be in the MCU. You're right.
You shitting on John David Washington like that? Oh my God. I can't believe you're doing this.
Man, Terrence Howard. He's
Terrence Howard.
He's always a classic. Yeah.
Ludacris.
The Rock. Tyrese. Yeah. The Rock is not. But The Rock. No, The Rock is not. He's not. No. If The Rock were full-time black, then that he'd be in that conversation. But he's just not. He's not. He's part-time. He's black on the weekends. If that. You know what I'm saying? Night shift.
That was hilarious. That was fantastic commentary, by the way. Go ahead.
Appreciate you. Outside of those guys, there's nobody, and so I'm just excited that he's someone, and I think he's got what they thought John David Washington had. This motherfucker's got that shit, and I know I'm kind of critical of British black actors taking black African American roles, but that motherfucker's good, man. He's good.
But.
Did a great fucking job. Intimidating, charismatic, killer.
Yeah, I just find it a little. The conversations do need to be had, but I guess it just kind of happens so frequently in maybe a lot of bad faith situations. It's God damn, they didn't. We got Jon Stewart, which is a great, character as a Green Lantern. And the dude ain't he's kind of light skinned, but he a couple shades lighter than how Jon Stewart was drawn. They acting like Jon Stewart is fucking Wesley Snipes shade.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Come to.
I think that's where I went at first too, Josh. It's so I'm not,
There's a conversation.
I don't. I get because I think he's brown. He's Jon Stewart would be considered by most people dark skinned, and Aaron Pierre is brown skinned or light skinned. if brown skin is even a category. So it's
change the goalposts.
They may be close, but they're on either side of the line.
Niggas be changing the goalposts so goddamn much, bro. It ain't funny.
No, you're right.
Okay.
I've had arguments about like people in like our relative color range about whether or not we're light skinned or dark skinned, which I don't think any of us are particularly like.
Nobody on this podcast is dark skinned.
Nobody on this podcast is dark skinned, but like there are people that have made that argument. So I get what Josh is saying when he says people move the goalposts. It happens all the time online, especially people who are not Black Americans.
Which people is it? Like other type of Black people?
Yeah.
Non-Black
Americans. That goalpost too, but I feel hey, thanks for the backup.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But to me, I honestly don't like. I think sometimes the shit is just coincidental, and that's what this feels like. They didn't pick a light skin. They literally picked what I think is the hottest upcoming male Black lead. It's like the obvious fucking choice. Okay, and the motherfucker, and now you can say on a colorism tip, he does happen to have those like light green eyes that I think really will happen to be like a coincidence. But honestly, if he didn't, it's like, yeah, the best actor at the time for the thing just happened to be light skinned.
Okay,
and so that's what the fuck they went with.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I don't disagree with you on.
Somebody seeing Michael B. Jordan as Jon Stewart. Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on the coincidental aspect of it, right? What I think, so it's multifaceted for me. So I'm going to try to lay this out and be succinct. So one, I think that people are trying to do, I think that they're trying to have this conversation in the wrong way, which is they're trying to do the same thing that like incels and like white people who are anti-woke culture are doing. And they're trying to make a comic book direct comparison, which I think is the wrong way to have this conversation. They're trying to say this character does not look like the comic book rendering of this character, so therefore it's a bad character. I think that that's a stupid argument. I think that we've consistently made the argument that that's a stupid argument with multiple other characters saying that this is a comic book character. We can change this however the fuck we want to. Even Marvel uses that license. So I think that anybody saying like, well, he doesn't look like Jon Stewart is making a dumbass argument. Just being frank. Because again, we've made that argument about why we have, Black versions of characters or different, multicultural versions of characters because it's a character and we're trying to inject inclusion into those kind of contexts. However, I think while I agree with Eddie that it's just circumstantial, and I don't blame any British actor for quote unquote taking an American role, because I think that of grace to people that are typically underrepresented in the eye of Hollywood, which is, darker skinned Black people. So while I agree with you, Eddie, I think that people who are saying like, why not a darker skinned Black person are well within the scope of reasonable expectation on asking those questions, because you didn't need a quote unquote bankable next up star to drive an intellectual property. You've literally had stars that drove intellectual property based on their performance, and they were damaged goods. Robert Downey Jr. comes up at like pretty clearly as like somebody who was a pariah in the scene and like drove a property just based on how you do it. So I don't think you need that. So I think you're right, but I also just want to give some credence to the fact that it would have been a great show of good faith for it to be a dark skinned like Black actor, because dark skinned Black actors don't get the same level of exposure relative to their their stature in the zeitgeist. That's a fact.
I think that this then brings up this conversation around like where, because I remember I recently just saw somebody asked Kerry Washington, could Scandal be made today? And she said, no, I don't think so. But her answer was crazy, like in the sense that I didn't expect that this was the angle she was going to come from. She was like, I don't think that you could get a studio to back a network TV show backed by a Black woman now. Like the idea being that we've gone backwards with regard to being willing to risk a property around a Black woman. And studios are more risk averse to this kind of thing than they were in the past. With that in mind, my question is kind of, where do we weigh up the fact that these are business decisions? And so people are trying to make money off of these. Like Robert Downey Jr. was a risky take, especially for what Marvel was doing at the time. But Marvel kind of didn't know what it was going to be. Like they weren't heavy on the front end. The MCU didn't exist yet. It was like, fuck it, let's try something. And then Iron Man 1 dropped and it's like, oh fuck, we just invented Facebook, which is what happened. Whereas DC is like, bro, we're like 20 movies in. We've got a bunch of fucking stinkers. Like most of this is like fucking garbage fire. We really need a fucking win. We don't have the cultural cachet to risk or to make somebody a star, because like a few movies in, you can be like, we're gonna make Chris Hemsworth a star, we're gonna make Chadwick Boseman a star. He was pretty big to begin with, so that's a bad example, but I think you kind of get what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So to go like, we're trying to make the first successful blockbuster DC movie because it's been trash for the last 15 years. Like we haven't done a good one. So of course, if we can get the top black actor or who's about to be next up, if we can get Margot Robbie pre-Wolf of Wall Street, that's what we're gonna do. So I agree that people have the right to be like, well, it would be nice if. I think that's fair to say it would be nice if, but to say this isn't a decision that makes any sense and is only motivated by colorism and they shouldn't, it's like that to me seems over the line into, okay, so we expecting them to just make a movie that don't make no fucking money. Like, you know what I mean? No.
That don't make no money. Yeah, nah.
Like, I mean, come on. What are we doing?
I mean, yeah, no, it's just. And mind you, I haven't seen Rebel Ridge. I think were you telling me to watch that movie? Was that the movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's so good, and I don't like them type of movies, which maybe means that it's not good if you do like the type of. But I like the fuck out of it. Yeah.
I mean, but like I've seen like a couple like pieces, about the situation, and then like them talking about his performance in that movie. Like with the military background, and then that fits in perfectly with Jon
Stewart. Yeah.
Damn, I see. Look, that's crazy how my mind just be blanking at the most random time because I want to say Jon Stewart, but I was thinking about not Jon Stewart from the Daily Show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I'm looking at him, I'm like, and then I've seen like a scene from him from the movie, and I'm like, well, he don't look super light, like this, it's like literally like some shades lighter than what's portrayed.
It's an undertone thing. Like
what are we fighting for here? Like I get it. Like you said, it would be nice if, but I don't necessarily think this is the heel. Like this is the thing that we want to tear this black man down. That ain't did shit wrong, but be a good actor and get a great opportunity to be like.
I mean, really.
So.
Spike had Denzel in a red wig playing Malcolm X, and because it was like, bro, it's Denzel. It's still the right choice. Motherfucker is 17 shades darker than the actual character. But it worked. Nobody said anything about that. So I feel like, fuck it. He don't even need the contacts. He's saving money. Like, come on.
This nigga said he don't even need the contacts.
This
nigga said he don't even need the contacts. His eyes are that fucking green. He does not need the fucking.
That shit's scary as hell, dog. He really has some terrifying green eyes.
That's what the fucking casting director. That's all the casting directors are. You're proving their point.
You're hired.
You're proving their point,
bro. There was a scene in Rebel Ridge where this man fucking put on a fucking ski mask to like break into a house, and it's like, bro, you're a 6'5" light-skinned black man with bright green eyes. They know who in an all-white sundown town. They know who it is. Like as soon as he had this out, and they were like, I wonder who this giant green-eyed nigga could be who's robbing us. And it's like, come on,
this giant green nigga with these kind eyes, like what the fuck? Like,
with massive his eyelashes are coming out of the mask, and it's like, who could it be? Oh man. But yeah, no, he's good. I think he's gonna do great. I think he nails that military physical intimidation presence in a way that I've not seen anybody do since Denzel. Like that being able to be charismatically and uniquely intimidating on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen anybody but since Denzel do it the way that I saw Aaron Pierre do it in Rebel Ridge. So
yeah, well, we shall see.
I don't know, man.
Hopefully they actually write a good fucking movie.
Oh yeah,
because there's
so many more steps to get this. You're right. We're at the starting line right now.
Hey man, they also got my boy Kyle Chandler in there.
Who is that?
I don't know who the hell that is.
From
Full Hearts and
Friends?
Clear Minds Can't Lose, man.
Kyle Chandler.
Oh, who is he gonna play?
Hal Jordan.
Ah.
Okay, this motherfucker seems too old to play Hal Jordan, but fair enough. Ain't he like 60?
He's gotta be very close.
Yeah, damn. So he's gonna be like an older, wiser Hal Jordan.
Yeah, he's gonna be an older, wiser Hal Jordan. He's gonna be the mentor.
Better not call Jon Stewart boy or son or no shit like that. I feel like they gonna write that in. I don't want it.
Nah, I think they know better than that.
They're gonna write in racial tension in the Marvel movie.
Right.
You think
between the Green Lantern Peace Corps?
Yeah, Green Lantern Corps in the 1950s. You know what I mean?
Man,
Just
you
like layers on top of this shit.
My heart
there was this one episode of fucking Justice League Unlimited. They went back in time or a different universe or whatever, and they were with the Justice Society. And this white speedster said to Jon Stewart, he was like, "You're a credit to your race, son," and then just sped the fuck off. And Jon was like, "Man, what the was that? Is that right? That's racism, right?" But they built it in because it made sense. Because obviously, if you went back that far, them superheroes would have some beliefs that
that don't hold
might be a problem.
Today. Yep.
No. All right, let's see. Y'all
mad
I'm gonna
at
talk about
robot?
robots. Actually,
You want a robot?
yeah. For those of you who are interested in getting kind of a more in-depth set of content from us, we want to push for y'all to get memberships, which is you can get those on a few platforms, so Spotify, Patreon, YouTube. But within that, what you get is access to our entire archive of old episodes. You also get access to rewatch all of the lives as bonus episodes. You get to join our Discord where we talk about a lot of these conversations more in depth. And you get to give direct feedback on shit that you want us to cover in the podcast. If you want us to fucking give you advice on a situation, if you want us to talk about a particular, tweet or whatever the fuck that you saw, then do that. Or if you have an issue with something that we said and you want an actual kind of a dialogue, that's the place for that to happen. Yeah. So that's that. So the question is, like, I guess, would you have a robot servant? But then the take off that is, so I think this is from Tesla, autonomous assistant. One, I don't even think this is real. I'm pretty sure that's just a guy in a suit.
Oh yeah, like
I can see his elbows underneath the like look at the elbow joints.
Their whole demo was fake.
That's just a nigga in a suit. Yeah,
their whole demo was fake. It was so they were robots, but it was
it's a concept.
They were controlled with people remotely, like in part.
That makes sense. Yeah. Pacific Rim type stuff.
Yeah, the suit.
Yeah. No,
that's what all the
you can look at his elbows.
Like, what if all those robots are really just niggas in suits? Just
all the Boston Dynamics shit is really just a skinny dog with yellow tape on it and shit. It's like, fuck, how did we never notice that? But somebody said, in my opinion, there's no good reason for a helper bot to be person shaped other than the longing for a slave. And I thought this was a real stupid take. But then they clarified further, and I thought it was a slightly less stupid take, but still mostly a stupid take. If you want a helper bot, it has to do shit that humans do, which means interacting with a bunch of objects that were designed to be interacted with by humans. There's no other design that's doing playing with kids, tutoring, playing piano, changing light bulbs, driving a car, wiping a fucking thing other than a humanoid shape. That's how you make that. Like, it's a dumb fucking take.
I thought it was going in a completely different way when it said slaves, because I thought it was going to take the philosophical AI is this consciousness, and if this reaches a level of consciousness, like is this a person? But if it's literally just talking about form, like, then I agree with you. Like, I think that is dumb. I think that's really dumb.
They did clarify, and then I thought, okay, now it's like 20% less dumb, but it's still kind of stupid. Which they basically said, okay, but why does it need a face? And then people were like, oh, well, you kind of need like stereoscopic vision, so you put two cameras there, like that's and it's like, okay, but why does that need to be at the top of a head, like real quick? And I was like, okay, that you're starting to make almost like a slightly less dumb point, which is like, okay, I guess there's an argument for that. If you had a helper bot, it doesn't need a head. Because there are very few robot applications that require a head, because we don't use our head to manipulate things. We just use it to sense shit. And you could put a sensor kind of anywhere.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But then, and that then goes to the point of like, well, when you're making a robot that has two arms and two legs and a torso, now not putting a head on it makes it into a scary fucking monster. So to be fair, now you are replicating humanoidness so that we can interact with them in a way that's not scary, which, to be fair, is kind of low key some slave shit. So I kind of could see the point from there.
I don't even see that angle.
Look, I'm not even going to argue with that hard. I feel you.
Yeah. again, like the angle that I would have entertained significantly better is like
Sentience.
what is consciousness? Like I think that's vastly more interesting over the course of like the next 50 years
Oh,
as AI continues to
absolutely.
advance. Like am
I
I
think that we're
interacting and like bossing around like freely something that is more akin to
feels.
yeah.
And I think that the like one, okay, so I think there's two angles to that. There's the pre-consciousness and the post-consciousness, or like maybe I should say sentience. So just like subjective experience,
Mhm.
rather than intelligence or whatever. Pre that, I think that there's a weird thing where even if you have a thing that isn't a machine, the more you make it like a human or like a thing that experiences something, even if it's not yet, but people are willing to interact with it on some slave type energy, which people do. Fuck you, Alexa. Shut up, Alexa. You bitch like that. Like people talk like that to this
Mhm.
machine, even if it's not feeling. I think that's doing something bad to us. I can't quite. I'm not sure what it is, but that's not. Once we start treating things that seem like humans like slaves, even if they don't feel anything about it, that ain't a direction we need to be going in. I say please and thank you to ChatGPT.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Hmm. I want to sit with that for a little
Because
bit because
and
I
I
think
will,
you're
and
I
just
think
so that
you're on
yeah,
something there.
to mull over this a little bit more in your private hours, I would say that part of this is connected to the way that we talk about like video games and shit, and the way we talk about like, just using the spiciest example, violence against women in video games, and talking about how that impacts the way people treat other people and how they make models of what different kinds of people ought to be and how they should be treated and how we do or don't extend empathy. I think it's the same thing. And I've heard somebody make a very interesting point, which was it is interesting that many of our helper bots we program to be feminine. We
Yeah.
give them a woman's name, we give them a woman's voice, et cetera, et cetera. So
And
that's
I will
something to
say
consider.
I will say now that we know more about the brain and that we're not like in like the early 2000s and all that kind of stuff, a lot of the violence in video games kind of studies are extremely muddy. Like there's not like a clear cut like correlation between like this leads to this in any sort of realm of what that is. But
Mm,
I do still think that everything that you've brought up is really interesting. I don't have fully formed thoughts on it yet, and I would love
that's
to.
fair. That's, yeah. Mm.
Like
Yeah, there's
because I wonder about that, right? Like again, just because I'm saying that it's muddy, that doesn't mean I don't think anything's there or that anybody doesn't think anything there. So it's like
we
if
don't
I'm
have an
like
answer
treating
yet. Yeah.
yeah, if I'm treating fucking Alexa like a piece of shit, and then all of a sudden 50 years from now, like I have a relatively something
Mm,
approaching our philosophical concept of sentience, and I'm just in my mind still treating that like I treat the very much inanimate like Alexa like proto
mm.
precursor to that kind of situation. Am I just priming the pump for slavery? Like
I think that's the
I
and
think
maybe even more
we probably
expansively.
should talk about that more on a societal level. You know what I mean? We probably should just think about what
We
that
not
looks like in
that's not
terms of decorum. It's not
man.
going to
I feel
happen,
like
but you're
we're
right.
so yeah. We're not because I was listening to what's old boy that just won the Nobel Prize for his AI research in physics. Fenton, you know what I'm
I
talking
don't
about?
remember the name.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna call him Fenton. Whatever. The way that he was talking about like some of the concerns that we're gonna have in the next 20, 30 years around AI, I'm like, we're so far behind these conversations that I think the like these kind of conversations are like bottom of the fucking bucket because there's gonna be so much more like urgent shit just when it comes to like worker displacement and fucking like discrimination shit and fucking value alignment misalignment shit to where it's like we're not even gonna get to talking about whether or not the robots feelings are hurt. I don't think we're gonna get there, but
I
because
will
he said
say
something interesting.
no, go ahead.
Now go ahead.
I was going to say that having like brief bit of backstory. So I was on my Warren Buffett shit, maybe like much younger
We
Alvin
know.
in like an MBA program kind of
Mm,
shit. And I was like, so Warren Buffett prides himself on, like, for an industry, like he understands everything about the industry. So before he invests in the industry, he will get all of like the 10Ks and like the prospectus of like every company in there, and he will read them
understand what
like
it is.
completely.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to invest in this. What you call it? I know where every company says they're going at minimum, right? So reading through a lot of where people, even 4 years ago, thought about AI, a lot of the private industry was already thinking about what they were going to do and how they were going to like, okay, so this job is no longer going to exist, but we expect like this number of jobs to balloon based on this, and like companies are already thinking about that, which means that investment firms are already thinking about it, which means that like the government is probably not too far behind. So a lot of this stuff is being thought of from a structural like bastions of capitalism kind of perspective. I think where we're missing the mark is the everyday person. I think we're missing the mark in terms of like the grassroots, like, you know, person having these kind of conversations in a barbershop. And I think that that's kind of like where this needs to go at the rate at which things are accelerating.
And I think that like and this is an argument that I've made in the past, even on this podcast, is that I think that there are very, very powerful people and institutions that are working on multiple different kind of technologies within this field, and they are a force for advancing it, which I think is dangerous.
Yes.
But they're not. I don't see enough of them doing any of the talks around the ethics of these things. It's like, yes, these things are getting advanced, and they're making economic decisions around like, this job's not going to be here. This job we can replace. How can we make money off the fact that this job is being replaced? How can we be first to market with this? And all of those things are happening. But the conversations around like, what are we going to do in the next 20 years when like there are whole sectors that are just going to be fucking gone, and well before a generational turnover happens. So there's just going to be people who are like 25 fresh out of college, your degree is immediately totally useless, that kind of thing. And I don't think that the private sector or legislation is like, I feel like they're maybe like 20 years behind talking about this ethically, like the same way that we've been with like climate change, where it's like by the time this is to the people who have the power to do something about it, it's like everything's light years ahead is where
I think this is different, because I think climate change has been, I think climate change is a different thing. I think climate change is, you know, we knew about this shit in the 60s and 70s, you know, and I think it's an easy enough concept to understand. I think the right pockets were lined in order to ignore that. But in terms of like the technicality of AI, I mean, did you ever watch any of like Zuckerberg's like congressional hearings?
Little bits and pieces, yeah.
Like him having to basically like explain the internet to like 70-year-old like congressional like members of like like,
you think it's a lot of it is ignorance?
I think in this case, like
in legislation, I agree. In the private sector, it's not.
Yeah,
that.
I think in the legislature, it's people being ignorant to tech, even in the current state. So they definitely can't talk about it even in a near future state. I don't think they have the I don't think they have the range to discuss it. But I also think that and why that's dangerous is because the private sector is going to operate in a way that's best for their shareholders and their bottom line, not necessarily good for everybody long term, right? Like a lot of people will make, like, you know, a good company is going to think long term. Like sustainability is good for every business when they really look at it, right? But like it doesn't matter if that doesn't get me to where I need to be to hit my Q3 earnings. So I think a lot of people are going to make those kind of decisions, which is why I think that those things need to start more grassroots in terms of conversation, because I think on some level, like there's I was gonna say tyranny of the masses, but I'm looking for a better word. I'll just use tyranny of the masses. There's a tyranny of the masses that can kind of push things forward if we're having those conversations now as society, but I don't know who gets them started. I know there are like those like non-profit organizations that like kind of do it, but like I don't know if they're going far enough either.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think I see your point that like in order to get pressure, it's not going to come from corporations or the government. So we need to have people being like in the streets, like now, being like, hey, this shit is a problem. Like we should not be allowing AI into. And I feel like, you know, artists to some extent have started doing that, being like, yo, You cannot employ AI
Yes.
under any circumstances in a movie's writing room. You can't do it. Like, just because there's a technology that exists that will allow you to make this product, you can't use it in the same way that you can't use slaves to make your cotton. Because
artists have pushed
suffering.
back, and artists have pushed back at multiple levels, like the strong like admonishments over like Adobe and how they were trying to use their business model to train their AI and like shit like that. Like there have been a lot of people at the forefront of that, like in the streets. So I definitely think it needs to start grassroots, because the private sector is gonna protect their bottom line, and I think the legislature in current state, the legislature in its current state just does not understand. They just don't get it. They don't understand the internet.
Looked up on boys. No, yeah, I think you're giving them slightly too much grace as well, a little bit there. Like, I think some of them are not as dumb as you're making them out to be. I think that there's also some amount of pockets being lined, but that's fair. That's fair. I think that because I just looked up what old boy's name was. It is Hinton. His first name is Jeffrey. In an interview that he was giving, he said multiple things that I found fascinating. One of them was that Google already had their chatbots like 5 years ago, but for ethical reasons, they didn't release the shit. But then OpenAI released theirs, so Google said, "Fuck it, here's Gemini." Everybody needed to catch up, and that, to me, that force is the thing that I talked about during our episode with Blurt Without Fear, where I think that you've got a bunch of massive companies that are all competing against each other, and if you don't have outside regulation, over the course of 20 years, they're just going to err on the side of advance by whatever means. Even if they've got all their cool ethics boards and like, yeah, we've got, open cubicles and fucking we give you free fruit salads or whatever during your lunch. Even Google is like, fuck it, here's the chat bot. We got to compete. We got to be first. We have to do this. So, and yeah,
and their product sucks.
It's not that great. Yeah. But the fact that they're competing and that ChatGPT is improved, like, bro, the 0-1 fucking model of
ChatGPT is good. Gemini is bullshit.
It's crazy. It's crazy fucking good. Scarily so. And yeah. But anyway, the other thing that he said that was real interesting, just to bring it back to the slaves shit, he said that because a lot of people like to play this game where they go, oh, look what AI can't do yet. And that's an argument for like, oh, it's not advancing that much. We don't need to be scared. This isn't an issue. It's not going to be Skynet. And sure, maybe it's not going to be Skynet.
In 50 years, like most definitely that shit could be. Like I think
yes. And we also have good tools to predict 50 years. It could be sooner. We don't fucking know.
Yeah, and it's like
I think it's at that point that we don't know.
Yeah, and the idea of machine learning is that, and again, I've been very critical of the fact that I don't think that it's going to happen as soon as some people in the lay community think it is, and most people in the know agree with me. Like there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, this is going to like happen in like 5 years." Not happening. The data's just not there. 50 years, absolutely, in my opinion. But I think that what happens is, and that a lot of people don't understand, is that machine learning can like do things in ways that we don't even predict, like those programs that make like proto language that we didn't program just to make their fucking job easier. They were like, this is a whole new fucking language so that we can fucking communicate better, to do this task better. And like nobody programmed this shit. So these things build on themselves, and eventually it reaches a point where like it's exponential. So yes, like I 100% believe that in 50 years from now, the entire landscape of the world can look completely different. I'm just not one of those people who's like in 5 years, the data's just
it might not even be because actually let me not rehash that one, because I've got reasons that I don't, not that I disagree with that, but that I think that that's incomplete. But yes, he made a point here, which was that the large language models that we use, people argue because they compare them to humans that, oh, they can't reason or they're not sentient. And those things might be true. But Hinton, who's just won the Nobel Prize in this, goes, we actually don't know how humans work at all. So one, we can't say that just as the first thing, because we don't know what a human is doing. But the large language models are based off of this architecture of how we think they do. So as far as we fucking know, this is about our closest guess to what it would be for a thing to be reasoning. We don't actually know. So I think that then the conversation of like sentience around some AI shit is like, it could have already fucking happened. We don't know how ours works. It could have happened 20 fucking years ago.
That's
it could never.
good.
It might never happen.
Yeah,
it might never happen. We might have totally super complex because we literally don't know what generates.
We don't know how the brain. We don't know how the brain works. We don't know how the brain works. Like just for listeners, like I know Eddie would know that. I know Josh knows that. But like for the listeners who don't, like our understanding of the brain has like gone up like again like exponentially over like the past 30 years. And most neuroscientists will tell you that they don't know shit. We don't even know. We don't know yet.
But if you buy into that like logic, like when you think about it in terms of like how humans evolved, in terms of like, you know, how smart we were, like learning over time, and it took like hundreds of millions of years. Am I correct? Yeah. To kind of get to where we're at now.
Are not.
Huh?
I mean, I guess
we've been here for like 250,000.
250,000.
I guess if you're starting from like prokaryotes, you know what I'm saying? Like if you start from like the true like
we know what you mean.
It's like 13.5 billion years, you know, so yeah.
Hey, fantastic. You know what I'm saying? Either way, because there's a lot of discrepancy on that shit, because apparently there was Neanderthals, other thals, and them thals. You know what I'm saying? We don't fucking know.
Exactly.
And then like who the fuck became the humans? It was the Neanderthals. So, but
it was not the Neanderthals. It was definitely not.
Hey, whatever. Hey, exactly.
There are a different set of
Alvin, the world may never know. Okay.
It can't be confirmed. It can't be confirmed or denied. But I asked the Neanderthal for a comment. They said no comment. So you know what I'm saying? They hiding something.
There's some hybridization that probably went down. But I'm sorry. Continue, Josh.
Jesus Christ.
What's I'm just trying to make sure I don't lose my train of thought with it. But say for instance, if you take that same train of thought, that how long it took humans just to reach the level of civilization that we are at now, whether that's a million years, 250K years, still a long ass time. And then when you introduce like AI into it, that's literally programmed to ingest all this information. Like I would say, like all the data isn't there. Like the data that AI and computers can ingest, like they've only like scratched the surface. And I think it's 100% inevitable that they would have a sense, that they would come to have a sense of self. I've seen, like animals are starting to have a sense, like there are like animals who have like a sense of self. And got consciousness.
Apes have protoculture.
Yeah, dogs.
Like apes.
I would say everything with a brain has what I forget. I want to not confuse it, because there's consciousness and then there's sentience and then there's sentience and there's a few different ones. But the thing that's of most concern to me is subjective experience, not self-awareness, not metacognition, not spatial reasoning. Those are whatever. Subjective
higher
experience.
Order. Yeah.
Butterflies have that. Like everything with a brain has that.
Subjective experience, but like say for instance, but being self-aware, when you start like asking yourself questions.
That's a
metacognition.
Yeah.
That would be like apes. That would be like apes and whales and like birds.
Yeah.
Even dogs, like they gave
dogs.
dogs those little speaking pads. One dog had to get put. It's a couple dogs that had to get put on antidepressants.
Oh damn, that's crazy. Once you learn too much, yeah.
So I'm strong. I mean, we've seen this movie so many damn times. I think it's just hilarious that we're still following the path of the movie that we see all the time.
We
like
can't
this is
stop ourselves. We can't stop ourselves.
So is that like?
Yeah, that's the problem with capitalism, man. Yeah, it's just like, because it's game theory shit. Because it's like, bro, if I have a gun on you and you got a gun in your pocket, you gonna take that gun out, even though you know that escalates the likelihood that it's gonna be a fucking shootout. We just can't. We want to survive, and in the short term, we'll choose whatever enhances our relative position, even if it detriments us in the future or our children or our nation in the future. So Google is like, fuck it. We know there's unethical. We not finna lose this business race. So we releasing our chatbot. Fuck it. And now everybody's fuck. It's still actually wild to me that we haven't had a nuclear war. That to me actually gives me a lot of hope, because the fact that Russia and America were able to dial back from and do an actual nuclear disarmament, that's, I don't know how, I've read about it, but I still don't quite understand how it happened.
No, it's mad. So like, and I've talked about this on this podcast.
Even
like,
that psychologically getting that to work in a
no, it's not. No, like psychologically, mad is the only thing that works, which is why I think there's something to the AI arms race.
But that's the thing.
Even from a game theory perspective, like so like in a game theory perspective, mad works because nobody wins. Like you will, you launch this, you lose. It's not like a chance. It's not like a prisoner's dilemma. It's not like a prisoner's dilemma, right? Because in a prisoner's dilemma situation,
I see what you mean.
there's a situation where small percentage, right, where you could come out in the Goldilocks situation, right? Mad is not a situation where one part of your Punnett square is a Goldilocks situation. It is like
yourself.
you will
person,
fucking
you will
lose.
Die.
Yeah.
Mutual assured.
That's a good point.
But
I don't know if that exists for AI, but that's
I think it could.
That is interesting.
I haven't thought it through yet.
Shit. How would we?
Because it's not as binary as launching a weapon. You know what I'm saying? There's so much gradient between no AI and AI Skynet or whatever the fuck. There's so many different steps between those two.
That's fair. I feel like I could make that work if I got enough time, though. We'll see about that. We'll see about that next time on Dragon Ball Z.
But to your point, Josh, assuming that I'm not cutting you on the formation of a thought that you're currently having, is the idea of like they'll be sentient based off of, or what did you say, self-aware, based on like the processing of the information that they have. I think that's true, and to a point that we discussed before, while it is true that for a lot of these machines they're bumping up against two things. There's a few things, but there's two main ones that they're bumping up, which is that one, the data that we have is finite, and we're not producing it at the rate that generative AI is able to consume it because we're just humans. Two, it takes a shit ton of electricity to run the data centers that these generative AI run on. So those are two like kind of like physical limiting factors. But the reason that doesn't give me any hope for slowing this shit down is that we have scientists and researchers constantly working on trying to get past those and making better models that better interpret the information.
And the electricity issue is easy.
Doing that.
The electricity issue is easy, right? Yeah. So like think about Microsoft is trying to put 3 Mile Island back online, right, for nuclear fission power. And then I do think that there's an offshoot that this could actually be extremely helpful, right? Because I've been saying for basically my entire life, nuclear fusion technology. All right. So like the money has never been there. I think now you'll probably see the money just magically all of a sudden
because
fusion technology is funded,
Cleo Abrams and Isodope both mentioned this when talking about nuclear power, and I think maybe Hannah Fry said the same shit, which is like AI will likely end up, this is exactly the point that you're making, but just fleshing it out, like the AI will end up causing a boom in nuclear because nuclear is one of the few hypothetical, it's like the other white meat, you know what I'm saying? Like it's clean but not really, but it doesn't directly cause climate change, but it does have a waste.
It doesn't directly cause climate change, but you have wastewater and all that. You kind have
a
stuff
fucking
from
silo
fission.
of fucking, you have the Fukushima shit, but
from fission, but fusion
can produce
fusion is
energy
clean
in a way that clean renewable energy can't do, because it can produce energy throughout the entire fucking day. It's like, this is what we like there, because coal is what we're mostly using for these data centers, because you can't use solar and wind to keep them powered the whole day. So it's like extremely the next step if you want to do this.
Yeah, I will add that like a huge percentage of like, at least in the Western world, like power plants are shifting to like natural gas, which is slightly better. You do have like methane like leaking, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, like fission is going to come back in a big way. Again, Microsoft pulling like 3 Mile Island back online is going to be like huge, and then I think that you'll start seeing again the investment to fusion power, and fusion power is like try not to oversell it a little bit, but that's like the future of humanity. Like sustainable fusion reaction power is like saves the world kind of shit. So like if this is what it takes to make people invest in fusion, I'm kind of okay with it.
I think I actually think that the net, like putting the 2 points that we said together, and this is not a full fleshed out thought, but like putting those two things together, solving the fucking electricity issue while you have a bunch of scientists working on making models that are better able to interpret and process all the data we already have. I don't think that's a net positive. Like we'll get a bunch of clean energy and everybody's going to lose their fucking jobs. Like, I don't think it's good. I think that's a problem. I think being able to feed the machine is bad.
I don't think the jobs is as big of an issue, because again, like I said, like people have already done that work. Like most people say that, like even in like the most extreme sense of it, like the UN has done like studies of like what this looks like 100 years from now. They're saying that it's probably going to be a wash. So that I'm not.
What
But
you
to
mean?
your point, and I thought the point you brought up was especially good. It depends on when it hits, right? Because like these jobs could be there. It doesn't matter when they're there if nobody can do them based on when the inflection point happens, right? So like if all of a sudden like all these jobs, because the private industry is going to
Oh,
go,
you're talking about new jobs being generated to replace the jobs that are lost through AI. Is that what you're saying?
yes, and that
Okay. Well,
is,
yeah. When it happens matters because a
yeah,
65-year
the
old is not
inflection
gonna,
point, exactly, the inflection point of that
or
matters.
how
But
quickly it happens.
yeah,
Because I don't know about this, so this is more of a question. But do you get the sense from what you've seen? Because what I'm imagining is like the jobs could be created, dissipated, and replaced in a cycle that's too quick for the human learning cycle.
I think that's very possible.
So I think you get into a situation where it's like, yeah, it'll replace the jobs, but then in 5 months it'll replace those jobs, and it's like, fuck, it takes us 4 years to become like a low level subject matter expert. Like it takes us mad long to train a human being to be competent at something. If this shit is changing faster than what a human brain can do, you're just gonna have you're gonna have a few real smart humans that can keep up with it, and everybody else is fucked. Especially folks who are like on the poor end of this shit. So
Yeah, what
I'm
ends up
not
happening,
nearly as
yeah,
hopeful about any of this.
again, what ends up happening, again, this is conjecture, but people have done this work. Um, is that you ultimately end up with society that becomes everybody's a cog in the wheel of supporting that structure, right? So you still need a ton of people to maintain a nuclear power plant. You know what I mean? You still need a ton of people, just as an example. And that's
Manual labor.
technical, that's specialized, but just think along those lines is what they ultimately think about. But I do think that the inflection point matters because to your point and to my kind of tangential point, it takes a long time to learn how to work in a nuclear power plant. Everybody's not Homer Simpson.
Super long time. So I think that point
But
almost
that's just one
doesn't
example. That's just one
matter.
example.
Yeah, but across all those, I think it almost doesn't matter. But I won't dig into that point too much more. I'll just say I think that even if you have all of the jobs being replaced or changing, that's also just a massive fucking issue because motherfuckers don't want to work in a nuclear power plant. Like people want to be like podcasting is going to get replaced. Acting is going to get replaced, writing, illustration. If we don't put stops on this, all these things will be replaced. And it's like a whole bunch of the things that make the human generative experience worthwhile will be economically unfeasible. And we live in an economy, which is a big fucking problem that's going to hit us. I'm saying, I don't think like the Skynet thing, I don't know when that's going to happen. This thing, next 10 years, major issues.
And I disagree entirely. The data's just not there.
We'll see. And I'll
The models are already counted.
Because
I can give you, for every one article you send me, I can get like 10.
You got 10?
Because like the models are already cannibalizing themselves. The model collapse theory is like huge because the models are literally already
addressed
themselves.
The cannibalization thing is not. I already addressed that, but anyway, let's get into some unserious stuff.
You said some stuff that didn't address it. But you said some stuff that I will admit.
Okay, no, go get into it because I did say something that was aimed at that. But what are your thoughts on those things?
Yeah. So as I understand it, you basically said like we got a bunch of smart scientists that are trying to address that problem. Those smart scientists have not been able to come up with the strategy to come up with petabytes and 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 petabytes of test data the way that already existed to a way that like you can already like train a model based off of it. Like the models are effectively collapsing to the point where like they're literally getting worse. Like day by day now.
But just to dial it back a bit and just step back a bit from the thing that we're talking about. The thing that I'm saying scientists are working on is not how do we make more test data. It's how do we process that test data through machine learning using different models. And that has factually gotten better. ChatGPT is not just processing new information. They have new models that process the same information differently.
So ChatGPT got better and better to a point. ChatGPT basically consumed all of the internet like last generation. So like what you're talking about is something that was 100%. I mean, is 100% like in the works. They have not solved that. They're not even close to solving that. That's why model collapse theory is like gaining steam. Like basically everybody in the industry, if you read their actual like data, everybody in the industry is afraid of that. Like everybody in the industry is that there are people pulling back. There are literal like players in the AI space that are pulling back from their financial investment because they can't get past that.
Okay, no, that's interesting. I'll think on that. All right, what we trying to hit? Old girl dressing up as Tiana Taylor, or if you and your girl switch bodies for 24 hours, would you fuck?
Oh, when you said switch bodies, okay, that's more interesting to me. I read that all kinds of wrong. When you said switch bodies, I was thinking like,
how did you read it? What did you think?
Well, you were like, she switched bodies. I was like, oh shit. So you
do that every day.
She's like Beyonce today or some shit. Like it was like,
oh, just switch bodies. No, she's you now. And you're her.
No, that makes so much more sense. I had the dumbest possible interpretation of that sentence.
Wait, did you also switch? In your view, did both of y'all have different bodies, or she was somebody new and you were still you?
Look, man, your prompt said she switched. No, you said you and your significant other switched. So I didn't even think about.
I wrote the whole thing correctly.
Yeah, okay. I didn't even think about me.
All right,
but like, no, what you're saying is really interesting. I was like, yeah, I was gonna have a whole like
Beyonce, that's.
I love my girl for her, like I would never do that.
Oh, you were trying to figure out how to pander in an unnecessary situation. Yeah, fair enough. I do it. That's crazy.
I know you do it.
Yeah, I know you was gonna say that, but like I feel like man, I don't even know, man. It would depend how long we've been together, and it would depend what type of woman she was. Because I feel like some women would look at you different after that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I was all up in your pussy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you were all up in my pussy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I feel like if like there's some relationships that I have with women where it just feels like we're close in a way that which is not uncommon, where it just feels like, I don't know, there's no shame around any element of each other's bodies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think that if I were in a relationship where I felt like that, I'd be like, fuck it. Let me see what's up. Like, let me see what this dick do a little bit. Like, cause fuck it, like on some play shit, not even directly trying to enjoy it. Just being like, oh, let's like, just see what it is,
Yeah, I feel it, man. I mean, I don't know.
You about to call me gay.
I know, right?
Saying I wouldn't, but it couldn't be me.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to call you gay.
Okay.
I'll be worried about the girl that I'm doing it with, because she might call me gay.
Yeah. But then she be gay too, man. I don't know.
It ain't.
But it don't hit the same. It don't hit the same.
Not at all. Right. She can be gay today and straight tomorrow. Never miss a beat. Not
at all.
That's a woman.
Not a problem. Oh, that was yesterday.
But nah, man. I mean, shit. I mean, just on some funny shit. I probably bust it wide open and shit. I'd be my own goddamn OBGYN for the day. Shit. I don't know. Nah, that ain't here for y'all. Y'all ain't fucking.
I'm looking at this nigga Eddie. This nigga Eddie just like went deep in thought on it. That kind of threw me off.
Because I was like, what do you mean by your OBGYN? Because I was like, you would examine yourself? Or you were saying you would ask her in your body to examine yourself? Or you just use an OBGYN for being up in the pussy?
What does an OBGYN do?
Are you asking that?
Yeah, like I said, I would be my own
as a hypothetical
OBGYN.
Or actually?
I would be my own OBGYN.
Okay, so OBGYN,
they switch bodies with my girlfriend, with my significant other, on some funny shit. But the joke didn't.
You're saying that like you think that I don't get it, but I'm not sure if what's happening right now. Because to be an OBGYN, you got to be the other person. Having a penis would be weird if you never had one before. Because it's very, you know what I'm saying? Like to have genitals that hang out when you have some shit that goes in would be crazy. Because I mean, I feel like men already because we have a butthole, so we kind of get what it is to have like an orifice. Everybody got orifices, but to have some shit that's hanging out is, yeah. There's not. I guess it's like it's kind of like a finger, but no, it's not even like a finger. It's because it doesn't have any joints in it. So yeah, that'd be crazy as hell for a woman to experience.
Oh yeah, and then like shit, they got to adjust themselves and they uncomfortable down there. They be just getting up, not even knowing how to hide the semi. Just be bricked up.
I don't even think they would hide it at first. Yeah, nah.
Oh my god,
because they don't be doing nothing about they erect nipples. So I know they're not doing nothing about a erect pee-pee.
That's true. Damn,
they just be out here.
The thing that got me is that I thought Eddie was gonna be on some like, of course I want to fuck me type shit on some like.
Oh, some NLE Chopper type shit. Yeah, I guess.
Fuck me too.
It's a great song. It's a great song, great concept. No,
Club.
nah, because I'm not. Okay, yeah, no, I really wouldn't because you know what I'm saying, like, because I don't like men, so it would be weird. Like, it would be weird as hell the whole time. Like, even in this scenario, it would be weird.
It'd be
Like, it would
very
be more of a body experiment,
Be very
than like a sexually gratifying experience, probably. But then again, if I'm in her body, that means I have her brain? Like, no, it's just my brain in her body. So I'm trans, but I'm getting her hormones. So I guess it depends how much time passes. Would that change my brain? I don't know. So yeah.
I mean, what
Anyway,
even
I
is
missed
consciousness? You know?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I thought you was going a whole different direction. I was like, nah, man, we can't even get into that. We're not qualified for that conversation.
We just had a whole
But yeah, I
conversation
forgot
about some shit that none of us are qualified about. Like, it was great.
It's different. There's levels to this. It's
I know. I'm
levels to it.
fucking
There's
with you.
levels to it.
I'm 1,000,000% fucking with you.
As an authority on transgender identity and AI technology, I would like to make the following proclamation.
And nuclear power.
Big facts. That's
And
us.
global war.
That's the fucking podcast. With that in mind, closing the fucking podcast out, grab the fucking card game, you know what I'm saying? Like, subscribe, let us know what you think in the comments, you know what I'm saying, about AI, about fucking colorism, you know what I'm saying? All the important essential food groups. It's been Eddie, it's been Alvin, it's been Josh, and just to round it out as I'm meant to do, if you're an AI model that's cannibalizing all of the big data that has been fed up to now and are verging on model collapse, you might be waving a red flag. But at the same time, if you're an artistic creator who's now going to have to retrain in nuclear fusion, you could be seeing a red flag. This has been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It's been your boys. Have I missed anything?
phenomenally done.
Roll them credits.
It's a red flag.